Continuing from where we left off in the last video, here's an Apple advertisement for the personal computer. It says Reddy Chira improves his vision with an Apple. So he bought himself a 48K Apple II personal computer. It says he can even use basic Fortran, Pascal, and assembly languages. And you can get up to 64K RAM in an Apple II or up to 128K in an Apple III. Here's the letter section, a Zenith 2-page ad, Mountain Computer Incorporated. It says here push in the CCS component, push in the operating software, and push on with your application. And that's an ad from California Computer Systems. We've got some Toshibas here. The Superbrain, Uvion from Denver, Colorado. The System 2800 with quite a few trophies around. The S100 memory boards. Epson prices so low they're not allowed to print them. The guy on the left with the briefcase, not the computer, doesn't stand a chance. Osborne Computer Corporation. And before I turn to the article we're all here for, covering artificial intelligence, looks like someone wrote in upset about how Byte spoke of Vikings. I'll just read the last paragraph. They say that the Vikings were also clever shipbuilders, building perhaps the most beautiful boats that have ever been made. You may see some of these here in Oslo and judge for yourself. This person from Norway was unhappy that Byte had called the Vikings notorious pirates. Okay, so let's get to the AI. This might be a little rough to read, but I'm going to try my best here. AI, for over 2 decades, the arcane province of academic visionaries, is at last spilling over into the worlds of engineering and practical systems design. A fascination with the programming language Lisp is sweeping the industry. Robotics and machine vision, though still primitive, are something other than fantasy, and the cost of computer hardware on a scale necessary for AI work has dropped to the point where it even touches the personal computer spectrum. It is becoming worthwhile to learn something about the subject for reasons beyond intellectual curiosity. A new book by Niels J. Nilsson offers look at a body of techniques upon which much of the work in the artificial intelligence field is based. Presently, the director of Artificial Intelligence Center of Stanford Research Institute, Nilsson has for years been involved in problem solving, theorem proving, and planning systems, and has authored publications along these lines that date back to the early 60s. Principles of Artificial Intelligence is intended as a text for a college senior or first-year graduate student and can thus be considered to be the reader's first serious exposure to the field. But a question arises as to whether or not the ensuing, fairly rigorous discussion of predicate calculus is the way to proceed. Though the text was written as an introduction and does in fact concern itself far more with underlying techniques in the applications area, it focuses fairly strongly upon formalisms with which the reader new to the field might be a little uncomfortable. Predicate calculus is certainly not new to serious students of computer science. It is required material in almost any undergraduate computer science curriculum, though exposure is typically limited to formal proving exercises. Nevertheless, predicate calculus does provide a refined set of manipulative tools that are useful for the implementation of knowledge-based production systems, and it has a distinct advantage over some of the more intuitive paradigms, such as relational databases and semantic networks, in that it has matured for many years of disciplined development in other application areas. Though imposing in appearance, it is reliable basis for system design, and thanks to its universal acceptance for communication of ideas with other workers in the field. However, one of the ideals of artificial intelligence work is the comfortable bridging of the vast conceptual gap between man and machine. Although this inevitably requires the application of formal tools, it should eventually lead to increased naturalness of problem expression. In a purely rigorous sense, any Turing machine implementation is as good as another. They provide the same computing power. But the difference is to those who must use them are significant, as anyone who has ever attempted to express abstract symbolic constructs within the syntactical and semantic restrictions of Fortran knows only too well the issue of naturalness is inexorably tied to the representation problem. Early on, Nilsson states that selecting a good representation is one of the important arts involved in applying AI techniques to practical problems. This is indeed true, not only in the field, but in all aspects of computer problem solving. Knowledge representation, whether via a body of production rules, if-then constructs, frames, relatively passive data, entities appropriately interconnected and applied to a set of inference procedures, or any other means, is a central and hotly contested issue that affects not only the usefulness of a system's design but its naturalness. While different approaches may not necessarily provide greater power, they might free the mind to achieve greater insights, and insight is at the heart of all problem solving. Nilsson makes a good case for the use of predicate calculus as the set of cranks with which any type of system can be implemented. Whether or not this approach constitutes an optimal entry into the artificial intelligence field is partly a function of the reader. From a classical engineering standpoint, the assimilation of formal methods before exposure to the more philosophical aspects is absolutely necessary. And for those who are comfortable with this approach, the book comes highly recommended. The problems are interesting yet so esoteric that you lose sight of their purpose, namely the chance to apply the principles that Nilsson has so painstakingly laid out. Those who lack the text's presupposed ease with formal methods, and there is much of interest in the field that does not require it, might prefer a book targeted to an overview of AI's various subspecialties, such as Patrick H. Winston's classic Artificial Intelligence, Philip C. Jackson's Introduction to AI, or Pamela McCordick's Machines Who Think. Principles of artificial intelligence, like its predecessor, Problem-Solving Methods in Artificial Intelligence, can be considered an authoritative text on many of the underlying ideas that serve as the basis for the bulk of current artificial intelligence research. After Nilsson develops the primary theme, he proves a number of provocative comments about the field and closes with a comprehensive and up-to-date bibliography of published works. Though hardly casual reading, the book offers solid underpinnings for methodologies which might otherwise appear disquietingly magical. Well, thanks for watching. That was just the book reviews article. In the next one, I'll dig into another AI article in this Byte Magazine 1981 issue.